Welcome everyone to today's security news, or every other day summary of what happened in the IT and such security or not so secure news here. Starting with Uber, the self-driving test vehicle that struck and unfortunately killed an Arizona woman in 2018, had a software flaw. There we really see, unfortunately, that software flaw more often than not have real consequences, including death here. And here some things here are newsworthy with, in my opinion, what kind of a little bit of afterthought and laziness and stuff Silicon Valley companies operate here, because this self-driving car, according to the summary here, was crossing the street at night, and the report released ahead of the meeting said that the vehicle failed to properly identify her as a pedestrian crossing a street. And I would argue that actually this could also happen to Tesla self-driving car stuff and such, because even Elon Musk there says don't need LiDAR and camera is enough. And I have quite some suspicion, and this article and report just underlines how the car needs much better surrounding. I said this before, I would engineer this with our German over-engineering so that the car only drives where it has reliable data, that there is nothing, either a concrete block or pedestrian, and not this Elon Musk rubbish of like, yeah, some camera is enough. It's, yeah, leave me in the comments below what you think about this, but yeah, that accident prompted significant safety concerns. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock, unfortunately, about the nascent self-driving car industry, which is working to get vehicles into commercial use. And unfortunately, with our IT experience here, just our recurring theme of too insecure software. And if you have this habit of just clobbering some stuff together and hope that it works a little bit, then this is exactly what you get for self-driving cars. Even more crazy here is somewhere the sentence that too late to avoid the crash. And that is also what I mean with, in my opinion, some self-driving car would need to have such a 3D scan surrounding data set that it only drives when there is not something to drive into, something what the human driver would also only drive if the human driver sees enough to not drive into something, and correctly identify the bicycle as an immediate collision until 1.2 seconds before the impact. It was too late for the Uber car to avoid the crash. The system designed, and here this is really crazy. That is the most outstanding, like, what the heck, seriously, the system design did not include a consideration for jaywalking pedestrians. NTSB said, like, seriously, what the heck? Why do they even try to build self-driving cars? It's so sad. This is exactly why I recurrently want to bring security issues to the broader attention here. Speaking about security issues, Trend Micro revealed that customer data was illegally sold from an inside job security incident. Yeah, security companies' data sold there. Exactly what you had one job, and yeah, hackers breached security at web.com. No, this is another article dated back to August this year, whatever, something, but yeah, Trend Micro security snake oil, you heard it here already. Speaking about similar stuff, amazing Amazon Ring doorbell exposes home Wi-Fi passwords to hackers. Like, seriously, what the heck? You would really think with all the engineers, the best and the most talented there sitting at Amazon and stuff, I have no words anymore. Security researchers have discovered a vulnerability in Ring doorbells that expose, and also who seriously thought that this is a good idea, right? Letting some Internet of shit thing device people, delivery people enter your home, what could possibly go wrong? Yeah, I would have other security considerations in my Wi-Fi password, but when first configured, the smartphone app must send the wireless network credentials. This takes place in an unsecure manner through an unprotected access point. said Bitdefender, once the network is up, the app connects to it automatically, queries the device that sends the credentials to the local network, but so on, yada yada, something, you guessed it. Speaking about stuff from Amazon, 2 security researchers earned $60,000 for hacking Amazon Echo. I think through the web browser. Let's see, the security researchers have been crowned the top hackers in this year's Porn2Own hacking contest. And after developing and testing several high-profile exploits, including an attack against the Amazon Echo, the researchers found that the device used an old version of Chromium. Yeah, old version of Chromium, Google's open source browser. Also, when I said this before, similar to Windows, Apple, Google, Android, if we all use the same devices like one big monoculture, whether that is Microsoft Windows, Google Android, or Google Chrome, then we all, whether it is on Linux, Mac or Windows, we are all subject to the same security vulnerabilities. And yeah, everyone running Google Chrome, then everyone has their bugs, and also not updating this stuff, right? I mean, eventually you would think they update this, but professionals, this patch gap was a count factor. Many of the Internet of Things devices compromised during the contest. Yeah, you have one component like the monolithic Linux kernel, Google Chrome, and yeah, the same thing in each of them. Welcome everyone in the audience. I hope you all are doing great as well. Speaking of one of the world's most advanced hacking groups, debut a new titanium backdoor. Malware hides at every step by mimicking common software in long multi-stage execution. So yeah, stuff gets more multi-stage execution. One of the one of the world's most technologically advanced hacking groups has anyway. Kaspersky Lab security researchers who discovered the malware is the final payload delivered in a long and convoluted attack sequence. And yeah, everything needs to be secure, right? It's not good enough to have just, yeah, if your Linux kernel monolithic or Windows, you name it. The Titanium app has a very complicated infiltration scheme. Kaspersky Lab researchers wrote in the post, it involves numerous steps, required good coordination between all of them. In addition, none of the files in the file system can be detected as malicious due to the use of encryption. And yeah, also virus scanner, snake oil stuff, payload is encrypted, and then yeah, it doesn't match anymore. So yeah, recurring theme. Speaking of secure, Microsoft's Rust experiments are going well. So they say here on this news article, wrote low-level Windows components in Rust, calls the experiment generally positive. And yeah, judging from the APIs I've seen, the good old Windows and probably can't get worse. Gave a status update today on its experiments on using Rust programming instead of C and C++ to write Windows components. In short, the experience has gone well, and engineers describe working with Rust as generally positive. However, some features are missing, but the company is willing to help and move the project forward. They have been tasked with an experimental rewrite of the low-level system components of Windows. And also, yeah, there you see, open source cannot just rest and sleep on the monolithic kernel with out-of-bounds stuff at each and every corner and every minor release. Major companies investing quite, and if we do not move forward from this C manual bounds checking stuff that is a Linux ecosystem today, then maybe one day all this Windows stuff rewritten nicely in Rust is more secure than Unix stuff here. Anyways, there was some stuff missing. Yeah, however, not all things went smoothly. It would have been unrealistic if we expected they would. But cited the lack of safe transmutation, safe support for C-style unions, fallible allocation, and a lack of support for at-scale unit testing needed for Microsoft's sprawling code test infrastructure. They are confident they will help in these endeavors to shape the future of the language, improving usefulness and so on. In similar health freezing over news, Microsoft Edge is coming to Linux, probably all you have been waiting for, right? However, as we have seen in previous IT news here of 6, 7, 8, 9 months ago, they switched from the, maybe I would argue, potentially better code base that was Edge, at least from what I've seen from so far away, to also to Chrome. So no surprise that as they switch to Google Chrome as an engine, they can also support Linux. However, that leaves you with the same monoculture of just mentioned, same security vulnerabilities for all the platforms. But if that was you were waiting for, right, Internet Explorer, the only one thing you were looking for and lacking in desktop Linux in 2019, some nice Microsoft Edge browser. But probably I would, by the way, not suggest you use that for so many obvious reasons. Yeah, DTART agrees that it's kind of cool that Microsoft's looking at Rust. In similar news, Microsoft Defender, not only Microsoft Edge, but also Microsoft Defender ATP is coming to Linux in 2020. Yes, 2020 is the year of desktop Linux. Microsoft browser and Microsoft Defender details its effort to level the playing field against cyber attackers. Yeah, with just mentioned cyber attacks encrypted, not being detected as malicious. And yeah, recurring snake oil, right? Snake oil. So I said it often enough. I can't say it often enough. Stuff needs to be secure. Some pseudo security stuff of, yeah, look, we are scanning it, and then the scanner again, larger attack surface, right? The Linux stuff mostly secure, and the one thing you certainly don't want to have the telemetry and larger attack surface of scanning this stuff and potentially exploiting buffer over underruns and stuff in the virus scanning stuff. So yeah, whatever. But leave me in the comments below what you think. There's even coming previous first, but when you get an untrusted document with potential malicious macros, yeah, also 2019 or 2020, macro viruses are still state of the art. My summary, just write secure software. And again, this is also a total security or usability nightmare, right? You sitting, even in Germany, this is one of the biggest IT publications. We had this Heise publishing house there, even had this immo toward something Microsoft Windows malware stuff. And even, doesn't even need to be but let's be honest, even some tech journalists will click on most of the attachments. Probably I myself left as one of those who never opens here's your purchase order with an .ra or some, I don't know, PPT or I don't know, something, yeah, but we just need to write secure software and certainly scale complexity down. The more just bare minimal function there is, the less there is to exploit. But the problem is, of course, feature upload, and even macOS peak bugs, nothing really works anymore. The more you add, the less it works. And similar news, no doubt cloud-enabled TM now, yeah, with the best telemetry money can buy. Speaking about bugs and features and stuff just working, I wanted to have here case in point, GPU open drivers from AMDVLK here, AMDVLK, and issues fixed. RPCS3, the P3 emulator, not working or hanging. I only wanted to point out, yeah, 2019 graphic drivers so large, so hard to maintain that even, yeah, hangs with some applications. In my opinion, really hilarious. As much as I applaud AMD's effort here to have here open source, certainly, this is just certainly also happening potentially even more on the binary only NVIDIA side. But also maybe AMD was a little bit late releasing their AMDVLK stuff here, that in the meantime open source people anyway have done AMDVLK. There is RedV there in Mesa. So much to here. Years late to release, years promised, and in the meantime people have open source written it from scratch anyway. But my recurring shout out here of complexity, drivers, hardware, stuff needs to be beautifully simple. Keep it stupid simple and not like everything in the kitchen sink and in the end everything is buggy, crashes, hanging. You got the idea. Then in similar news at Intel STRATIX 10DXF, also the name, right? Intel STRATIX R10DX FPGA or whatever. FPGA is the first and only FPGA on the PCI-SIG system integrators list for PCIe 4. It's also a little bit hilarious. The Intel CPUs are not PCIe Gen 4 ready yet, but at least the FPGA are. So if you want something for your desktop from Intel PCIe Gen 4 ready, then you can get an FPGA for that. They're also super large, I think. I'm not sure, correct me if I'm wrong, but when I scrolled over this earlier, it looked large. Where is this? That's a reminder that something Agilex F series FPGA, that's what earns the Intel Agilex FPGA plays something. I thought it's pretty large, not really sure how many gates there are, logic units, something are in there. But leave them in the comments below. Speaking about other not so most amazing stuff, Adobe Exec Defense Photoshop for iPad. I mostly collected this here to shout out here that this is everything is amazing in the computer. Maybe not so much people on the iPad ecosystem have waited for the whole thing, that the like complete like real Photoshop, Adobe Photoshop TMR registered trademark for iPad, and then I heard people are vastly disappointed, and even here responded to some backslash of tweeted about the painful early reviews. That is also mostly why I wanted to talk about this shortly, is that new stuff is not always amazing, right? So this is how I use the iPad as a computer. In my opinion, we are so many steps backward. What once was working, so once there was a Photoshop working amazingly, then on an iPad you can't, on Apple devices, not even easily share access files, certainly not poke around them manually. I made the mistake myself. I asked a customer to send me a log file of Exact scan with our scanning stuff, and I was so stupid myself, I didn't think I just wrote log file, and the customer named it log, which, yeah, I wrote it so myself, but yeah, and then I was at home with a phone, and yeah, of course, program didn't open the just log file, right? Because no application is associated with, first of all, it didn't even have a file extension. It was just named log, L-O-G, because, nah, my bad. But then modern platforms, right? You can't even freaking open a file without extension. Even if it would have an extension like .log, many Android phones or iOS devices would not have even opened this. 2019, the future is maybe not the most amazing. But yeah, of course, a Mac or certainly Linux, you just save the attachment, use VI or Emacs or gedit or whatever. But even, to be fair, even macOS, the latest Catalina, opens a bloody log file and text edit. So even there, you can't even bloody open a file. And it's also hilarious that you can't have, there's so much stuff in the iOS and Android, and you can't even bloody show me this bloody file as plain text. Anyway, but yeah, stuff that once was amazing, Adobe Photoshop, people, even Apple, diehard Apple fans, apparently painfully disappointed. User reviews rating of 2.3 out of 5 stars. Hey, that is less than our Exact scan, which also, if we would have. Anyway, little joke of Apple not approving our update. But yeah, it's a reimagination of a popular 30-year-old product, and maybe some stuff at Apple and what they have done with even the iPad. I had an iPad or two, and I barely always ever use them, which to the point I don't even buy a new one, and I find it totally waste of money and time and resources. Typing is slower, applications are limited, and this is what I recurrently want to remind here, that maybe to think things through, what you really need and want, and it looks bling bling in the advertisement, and maybe later you don't really get much work done, like here with a 30-year-old product. That so first of all, your 30-year-old product not compatible, and then when there is a compatible version, then it is painfully not amazing. He said if you try to make everybody happy with version 1, you either never ship or make nobody happy here. But to be honest, Photoshop 1 was probably in the 90s, so the version 1 has long sailed. But yeah, 2019, the version 19 of Adobe Photoshop, not amazing anymore. Yeah, leave me in the comments what you think. In my opinion, this is also the problem with people just accepting everything, right? It's colorful and bling and Apple and reality distortion field, and yeah, it's just people strangely fall in love with this advertised product of half-working stuff, and somehow they torture themselves each day with not getting stuff done. Yeah, let's see. American writes, update on a Surface Pro. That is amazing. You can disable secure boot and was able to boot into grub to EFI, which, okay, so that is Pro X. But needs to make a device tree binary for the Surface Pro X, and certainly how to, wait a second, Surface Pro X, which is this now? Is this the ARM, or I'm confused? Dieter installed Catalina VM. Yesterday he was not impressed, really feels like some steps backward. It feels like dumped down OS X. Pro is the ARM one. Oh, that is cool. So you're telling me you could boot into a grub to EFI on ARM? That would be, then I would nearly kind of sort of, the thing is between I would personally probably not get this, although it looks kind of cool, but then I honestly, to be honest, and I wanted to also make a video update about Surface stuff here in the next days, but only old piece of garbage, because not giving Microsoft more money. I would probably only get the new Surface stuff here due to my YouTube channels. If it would just for me privately, I would probably never buy this. Well, never say never, but probably not the next decade. But it's probably something for another video. That is interesting news, and I'm sort of tempted to get this just for the tinkering of it, because for the fun, and why not? But on the other hand, it might be worthwhile if it is as unsuccessful as the other devices. Sorry, then it might be financial beneficial to wait until they phase it out in 8 months, because nobody probably might be buying it, and then get it on discount for cheap. But yeah, also on macOS to this, it is hilarious if you follow my YouTube channel that you could, if you want some random tweeting garbage, then I posted there a couple of not only hashtag peakbugs, because peakbugs, especially on macOS, but it's so hilarious. Even on a website on Mac, on the latest macOS, you load something in Safari, and each website you load something, even from Apple or Mac Rumors or wherever. Each website you get a notification, do you want to allow this website to download this? It's like, and then I downloaded one stupid file from some little bit shady forum stuff, and it's like, on this one side there is not even a button, only trust once, right? I mean, even I would, like with my medium successful couple of people company here, would have thought like, would it not be a good idea to have trust only one download, because I don't want this shady forum site in the future behind my back download something. And the other thing is, even in the terminal, right, you do stuff in your terminal, and even then if you CD or you SED something, stream edit something like a text file for accounting or stuff, some CVS import of the stuff you, as a managing director, pass around, and you want to correct some stuff, even with like SED pipe from a file from download or desktop, then you even get a notification on macOS Catalina. Do you want to allow the terminal to access your downloads, or to access the terminal to access the desktop? Which is also a little bit hilarious that everything is a terminal is then the terminal, and not like, do you want to allow SED or, but yeah, a little bit, yeah. Also still not convinced that the sandboxing stuff is the super most amazing idea. Speaking about iOS, hashtag peakbugs, iOS 13, even here on big German IT news, problems with iCloud data are increasingly reported. Apple has Apple did not even release many of those fancy new features because they were not finished. And anyway, people increasingly complain about bugs, which is, yeah, my experience, right, peak bugs. So yeah, also some blogger here of, so we are not only the only ones criticizing Apple, here also other developers who shout out that, yeah, you only get here some NS file, read unknown error. Also, by the way, the unknown errors are always the best errors, right? There is a deadlock with sysdiagnose, no disk, anyway, whatever, stupid German news. Anyway, speaking about more Apple, just what I predicted, that Apple's gadgets are the co-star in its new TV drama, and I predicted this here, the stupid Apple TV with their Apple own produced stuff, and I immediately said, yeah, I have zero interest, I will not even watch it. I expect exactly those kind of Apple finance shows, of course, never put Apple in a bad light. It's, in my opinion, totally hilarious that we have now TV shows produced by big companies, and exactly or similar to what I predicted, that what does it not? Also here, Apple stuff all over the place, just what you would expect from product placements. Also here was another example of here, is this several scenes in morning show feature close-ups of iPhones, yeah, no shit. And here also some HomePod on iPad and MacBook and whatnot, a scene from Apple's, yeah, also morning show. Exactly what I expected, and I also don't understand why people are so trapped in the reality distortion field. We certainly had quite some. I'm actually considering, should I even, we got thousands with the Catalina release when our 10,000 of old and new customers. It was the busiest weeks here at Exec since ever, and it's said what kind of support emails we get, right? I mean, people with Macs, they sometimes cannot, they don't even know what a file is anymore, or folder, or they don't even know how to drag and drop something from A to B anymore. It's so sad. With this, you really wonder what is the development of society when people, they think they're the most clever, they know everything better, yet they don't know how to drag something. They don't even. It's hilarious. But maybe I should probably not talk about this support experience. It's, yeah. Anyway, I'm really wondering. But with YouTube celebrities like iJustine, it's probably no wonder that people are falling in love with this Apple promotion stuff. But anyway, on this place, I want to mention like what exactly as expected, society being mind-washed and constantly reminded and kept in this Apple reality distortion field. When you're already on Apple products and Apple TVs and you constantly see this Apple stuff, that in reality it has a market share of 9% or whatever, and stuff is failing keyboards, and certainly nobody will mention there. It's anyway. Speaking about former Twitter employee charged with spying for Saudi Arabia, I wonder slightly what is there to spy on Twitter. They reportedly used inside access to help Saudis track dissent. Okay, that makes at least somewhat sense. I initially was wondering what the heck do they need to spy on Twitter for Saudi Arabia, but okay, tracking dissent actually makes somewhat sense. Alleged to have obtained personal information from more than 6,000 accounts. If you ever wondered how many people Saudi Arabia wants to spy on, including that of high-profile dissident Jamal Khashoggi. Anyway, sad times we're living in. Somehow the wrong parallel universe turns in our Star Trek universe. In similar regular shout-out news here, older Samsung smart TVs soon to lose Netflix support in the next months. That is exactly what I always predict, like this Internet of Things stuff soon not working after updates, and exactly what I already experienced with Skype, for example. Maybe my news channel here is even new enough for Internet of Things devices. Smart TVs losing support for old Skype API because also Skype stopped support and disabled some old-fashioned desktop protocol stuff, because it's what you do, right? Constantly disable. old protocols. So that's probably it for today. I hope you learned something, especially how not to do security and maybe use something more secure than C. In the WTH has one of those Samsung TVs with teaser noise junk. No, because when it attempts to, it needs the device tree binary to know where the CPU memory SPI located. It crashes afterwards. This is what I find. Yeah, so that is a little bit. Maybe you want some poking, scanning stuff. I wonder, is I mean that somehow. Somewhat motivated to really play along with this kind of stuff. That would be really fun. You probably, so that is Microsoft Surface Pro X, you said. Where do we, X is something of that sort here. Of course, certainly not cheap for something. Use the ARCGit, no, because when I attempt to, it needs device tree, CPU memory. I wonder if it should not have support. We have some drop frames, 29 drop frames, but 30 FPS. Is this the smallest 8 gig? What is this? Okay, that is. This is memory. This is, I mean, it's freaking expensive, right? I mean, hilariously for not even compatible with anything. And okay, this is a big version, but seriously, 1,600 euro. You get a fine laptop for that. But yeah, this also upgrades both here. So the cheapest right now in the German, it's a little bit expensive. So a little bit expensive for just tinkering around with this. What I would wish is that the Linux stuff is a little bit too hard-coded. On ARM anyway, we have the device tree, or in ARM in MIPS we had this one precompiled kernel for just this set of systems, which I always didn't find the most flexible and nice to work with. I would actually want my microkernel stuff to be a little more flexible, with like integrated hardware abstraction layer, and maybe I wonder if there's some information in the ACPI tables. I would expect Microsoft not to hardcode such stuff. Maybe if you dump there through the ACPI tables and see what you can find in there. Certainly I would expect Windows to use something. Probably in 2019 Microsoft is not the most hard coding there, but I'm not sure if it has some integrated dumping stuff. But writing a grub module is not difficult. You can take a look. It's not the same, but to get some understanding here, we have a patch for this EFI magic to enable unlock some hardware in Apple machines. Here's some Apple set OS. So writing a grub module here, command EFI, is not the most difficult, and I would expect you would probably, there are some ACPI modules. Maybe you, instead of this, you use some, I think there were some ACPI table whatsoever. DMI, I would not trust that this has DMI, right? DMI and ACPI are two different tables. DMI are older tables. And I would not expect ARM to actually have DMI, actually, but you never know what they want for compatibility. But the ACPI tables are different. I would maybe grab has a command already for that, given that grab ACPI table dump, but command line DSTT decompile and dump tables in Linux. How do I modify ACPI tables? Dumps to Ubuntu. Okay, ACPI dump, but this is for Linux running. What is dtart ACPI? Here is something. ACPI exclude load only, OEM table, something file name, modern implement. Okay, we know this. Device service tables describe tables provided only work with certain and make it necessary to press. Some of them normally this command will replace the root system descriptor pointer to the new table. If is used, the new table will be not only to grub. It's not sure if this allows dumping, but certainly that is a starting point if you want to dump this. The only problem is I'm not sure if grub has support to write files. I mean that it has support for USB serial and Morse code generation, beeping stuff, but not sure if it has so useful stuff of writing to the file system. Maybe not as simple as the implementation is there. But anyway, thanks for sharing. That is amazing news. Pity that it's so expensive. Just EFI, which allows you to change just a new EFI, which what else have you written earlier? Disable. You can disable secure boot and was able to boot into grub EFI, but need to make device for Surface Pro. Not certain how to generate this. I mean, you could maybe also try to. I would expect the physical memory usually nowadays start at 0 or something, and you could try to use a table similar to a device tree, similar to a smartphone or tablet of a similar processor, and just see what happens. But yeah, anyway, keep us updated. Otherwise, if we talk too much, then this live stream gets a little bit long. I hope you learned something from all the insecurity news and if you poking there on Microsoft Surface Pro X goodness. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe, and leave in the comments below what you find helpful, what you would see more in depth, what what you would change, what different summary, different topics discussed. Do you have Twitter, direct message? Yes, I have. If you mean me or dtart, I can also post my Twitter handle, which also on the other hand is just my name here, which is Z. And yeah, hope to see you soon, and have a good evening. Till next time.